Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe and let's get started. So for this video, I am talking to you about my personal favorite top budget tools. Tools are a very popular thing in witchcraft. I'm talking crystals and books, and you see these altar displays with big statues on them, and it can be, first of all, really intimidating, and second of all, really enticing to go out and buy all of those things. It's definitely a myth that you need any of that to be a witch and to properly practice. You actually don't need any of those tools. I've talked about that numerous times on the podcast, so I'm sure you've heard that before and you're familiar with that sentiment. But I know that it can still be a trap to fall into to go out and buy all of the pretty things. I myself fall into this trap. Certain times of year, I always say I have to watch myself during Leo season because I just want to go buy all of the things, and that is namely crystals. I am obsessed. But I wanted to talk to you today about some budget tool options, because even though all you need is yourself, sometimes those tools do make things a little bit easier, a little more helpful. So I just wanted to bring up some of the things that I use that do not cost a lot of money. So if you're just getting started or you don't want to spend a lot in general, even if you've been practicing for years, here are some of the ways that I still use tools in my practice, but scale way back on how much I'm spending on them. First up, let's talk candles. There are a lot of candle options that are really inexpensive. So first of all, you can always go with the tea light option. They are small, inexpensive. They are often sold in bulk, so you can get a set of 10 or 20 for just a couple of dollars. And they are great for shorter spells. They don't, burn as long, so that's perfect. Chime candles are great as well and inexpensive. You can even find them on Amazon. And these are my preferred candles because I find that the taller taper candles just take a little too long, and sometimes I'm really impatient in my spells and I just don't have a couple of hours to let a candle burn down, and I'd like it to be done just a little bit quicker. So chime candles are perfect for that. And again, they are relatively inexpensive. And of course, if you need something that's really quick, really fast, cheap, is birthday candles. Birthday candles come in all kinds of colors and they burn out in just a couple of minutes. So you're not sitting there tending to your candles and watching your spell for hours. And you can find those absolutely anywhere. And it's great if you are still in the broom closet because nobody suspects anything about having birthday candles around. Next on my list are organza bags. I personally love making charm bags. They are really useful in my practice, and I make all different kinds, protection charm bags, confidence, love, happiness, prosperity, all of those things I make into charm bags. And organza bags are the best bang for your buck because you can get quite a few organza bags for just a couple of cents. And those are also sold absolutely everywhere. They just look like this. Here's a little pink one that I have that is full of my crystals. That's not even all of them. That's not even half of them. And I do store my crystals in bags like these, but I have them in all different colors. And the organza bags can be a little bit difficult if they're not tightly woven for herbs to be in there, but when it's just crystals or larger pieces, they work perfectly. And also, don't discount glass jars. I have found really great mini glass jars on Amazon, and I will link those below to help you out. And I love making spell jars. And sometimes the jars are just like big and overwhelming, and there's no reason that you need that big of an item. You can use just mini spell jars and get the same effect. So again, I will just use little crystal chips, couple little pieces of herbs, and everything fits nicely into one of those small glass bottles. Next up is herbs and spices. Now, some of these can run kind of expensive depending on where you are located and what it is that you're trying to get, because some herbs are more rare than others, but do not discount your local grocery store. They have all kinds of herbs and spices, and again, it's great for broom closet witchcraft. So if nobody knows that you're a witch, you can buy your herbs at the grocery store and everybody will assume it is for your kitchen and not for witchcraft purposes. So you can save a lot of money there. And I also recommend trying to find retailers online that sell, or in person if you have a local occult store, they also do this, that sell smaller versions, smaller packs of the herb that you're looking for, because you don't want to go out and buy a pound of lavender. That can definitely run you some good money there. And if you aren't using it that often, that can really be a waste of money. So if you can find some place that offers just mini sampler bags of various different herbs, you can get a lot more bang for your buck and try out a lot of different things. One that I have ordered from with success is 13 Moons. I have their little bag of cloves, and I also have their little bag of eucalyptus. But I have various other ones around my house and have ordered other ones over the years, and I really love these smaller portions that they're able to provide. And 13 Moons also does various kits where they'll have 10 of these mini bags inside of a kit, and they sell it that way. So, and I think 13 Moons has free shipping over $35, so that's always a win too. And along with the herbs and spices, you can also find salt at the grocery store. And salt is one of the most inexpensive and yet most useful, because any spell that calls for salt for cleansing, for purity, for drawing negative energy, that can be any kind of salt. It does not have to be a fancy Dead Sea salt or pink Himalayan salt. It really can just be table salt, which is one of the most inexpensive tools that you can find at your grocery store. And don't overlook the things that you can collect in nature. That is a great way if you are safe about it and you have an app that can identify plants or a book and you are really confident in what you're gathering. You can gather a lot of plants and herbs out in nature around you. And there are a lot of other witchy things that you can find out in nature. You can find your own rocks, especially if you live near a beach or river of some sort. There are all kinds of stones that you can collect from there that will act in place of any crystals if you can't afford to buy various crystals. So don't overlook the things that you can find in nature. But speaking of crystals, if you do want to start buying them, you can just start with small tumbled stones. Those will run you just a couple of dollars each. So you can really start your collection small and just pick the ones that are most useful to you. Clear quartz is a good place to start because that is an all-purpose crystal that can be used for anything. But whatever crystal calls to you, you can find a tumbled version of that that will be, let's see, about that big. This is a blue gold stone for about $2. And if you want to spend even less money, you can also find crystal chips, which are much smaller. But still a great option, especially if you're going to do charm bags or mini spell bottles. You can put those tiny little chips into those tiny little bottles without spending very much money at all. Next up is plain old notebooks. I know that it is a really popular idea to have a very fancy leather-bound decorated book of shadows that you only have thick parchment in and write in with dragon's blood ink. And that can be beautiful, and if that matters to you, then save the money and make that happen. But if that's not that important to you, don't overlook plain old notebooks. You can find notebooks absolutely anywhere. Thrift stores and dollar stores that are really inexpensive and work just as well when it comes to having a book of shadows and a place to write down your spells and your progress in your witchcraft. Incense is also incredibly inexpensive if you do live someplace that you are able to burn things and have smoke. It's not for everybody. Incense is just a couple of cents per stick. Again, those are also sold at dollar stores, and I've seen them at grocery stores too. So those don't cost a lot of money, and you are able to work with both fire energy, with the air element for them, and you're able to scent a room or an entire space with just one stick of incense. So they really do go a long way. But you can also create your own incense, just creating a blend of different herbs that you burn on top of a charcoal dish in a fire-safe container. Another great option for budget tools and saving money is to use things that are already around your home. So there are, ritual knives known as athames, but you don't need to have a ritual knife. If you have a whole set of kitchen knives, those work just as well. Same thing for any bowls that you already have, any decorative elements that you already have around your home. You don't need to go out and buy special cauldrons or chalices. You can use what you already have on hand. For myself, I charm jewelry. I have an episode of this Enchanting This Ring over on Patreon if you're interested, but it's jewelry that I had on hand, so I am just adding witchy elements to something that I already own. I don't have to go out and buy any sort of special crystal containing jewelry pieces in order to make that happen. I also wanted to mention tarot cards as an inexpensive way to have additional tools in your witchcraft arsenal. There are some tarot decks that are very expensive. The one that I mainly use and love is by the Threads of Fate. You've seen it on here before, and it is very expensive. But to get the traditional Rider-Waite deck, you can find that very inexpensively. And you can actually use tarot for a lot more than you think you can. Tarot is representative of a lot of different things across the cards. So you probably know that each suit is associated with an element. So tarot is a great way to have a stand-in for that element. So especially if you're working with all four and you can't or don't want to light a candle, have smoke, you don't want to have incense, you can't have an elaborate setup, and you don't want to buy all of the things to represent each element, you can just use one tarot card from each of the 4 suits that are in your tarot deck. They can also stand in for deities. So one of the more expensive things that will really send your budget sky high is getting deity statues. They are usually handcrafted, very intricate and detailed, and the artist should be paid for that. They should cost, you know, a pretty penny. A lot of work goes into those, but at the same time, they're not always necessary. So if that's not in your budget, you can always use a tarot card to stand in for the deity that you're trying to work with. Again, there are a lot of different options in tarot cards for that. So if you have a particular deity, all it takes is a quick Google search to see which tarot card they're associated with. And of course, I can't end this video without talking about my favorite free resources, and one being the library. I use the library for all kinds of stuff, and not just because I don't want to spend all my money on books, but also because I don't love keeping a huge book collection. You've already seen that in my minimalism. I love reading new ones, but if it's not something I'm going to go back and reference repeatedly, I just don't feel the need to keep it on my shelf. So I love having the library as an option for that. And thankfully I live in Chicago, so we have a huge variety, massive library that I can get anything ordered to. And I also can do all kinds of ebooks, which is really helpful as well. And that goes along with my last point of taking advantage of online resources. So ebooks is definitely one of them. That's a great way to spend less money. They're usually more, inexpensive than a hardcover book. They're easier to store and easier to keep hidden if you are in the broom closet. But there are all sorts of online communities. You're here on this free YouTube video watching right now to get some information. So there are a lot of other YouTube channels that offer, similar content, witchy content, so you can always learn that way. There are great other online communities on Reddit, or I have a bunch of, Discord options. I have my own Discord server associated with Witch Wednesdays podcast, and that's completely free. You can join over there and talk to other witches and just get general feedback and knowledge from there that won't cost you anything. And I know a lot of other witches in the community have Discord servers as well that you can check in on. But it doesn't have to be all about learning in community. You can also use YouTube for meditations to guide you in your practice, and for music. That's what I use YouTube for all the time. Instead of having a whole bunch of pagan music CDs or spending a lot of money on Spotify each month or downloading them, I go to YouTube and I have all my favorite pagan music on YouTube to get me in the spirit for whatever ritual I'm going to do. So hopefully those ideas sparked some inspiration in you for taking advantage of some free or inexpensive tools for your witchcraft practice. If you have any other budget tools that you love to use, definitely let me know in the comments. I know we are all looking for different ways to save some money, so absolutely let us know in the comments, and give this video a like if you enjoyed it. I appreciate it. It helps my channel so much, and I will see you next Friday.